There's a quiet power in being alone, a force so subtle that you might miss it at first, like the faint glow of a lantern in a storm. You don't always step into solitude by choice. Sometimes it's thrust upon you. A door slamming shut, a room emptying out, a life once buzzing with voices suddenly falling silent. In those first moments, it feels like a void, a hollow ache echoing with questions. Why me? Where did everyone go? Your mind scrambles for escape, reaching for the phone, the noise, the crowd, anything to drown out the stillness. But what if you stopped running? What if you turned toward that silence instead? Because buried beneath its weight is a gift, an unshakable strength waiting to be claimed. When you're alone, the world peels back its layers, and so do you. There's no one to perform for, no expectations to bend to, no chatter to fill the gaps. It's just you and the unfiltered truth of who you are. At first, it's unnerving. The ego, that restless gatekeeper of your identity, panics. It thrives on applause, on connection, on being seen. Left alone, it paces like a caged animal clawing at the walls, whispering that you're not enough without others to prove it. But stay with it. Push past the noise of that frantic voice and you'll find something deeper. A steady hum, a pulse that's been there all along, waiting for you to notice. This is your core, the part of you that doesn't need a mirror to know its worth. Think of solitude as a riverbed carved by time. On the surface, it's dry, cracked, lonely. But beneath it runs a current, strong, alive, unseen. That's what being alone does. It strips away shallow distractions and forces you to dig deeper. You start asking the questions that matter. What do I carry that's mine alone? What have I been hiding from myself? What would I chase if no one was watching? The answers don't come easily. They rise slow and jagged like stones unearthed after a flood. Some are heavy with regret, others sharp with longing. But each one builds something, a foundation, a truth you can stand on when the world rushes back in. The poet Mary Oliver once wrote, "You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves." Solitude is where that soft animal wakes up. Away from the clamor of others' voices, you hear your own. Tentative at first, then clear as a bell. You learn to love the rustle of your thoughts, the rhythm of your breath, the way the light falls across your hands in the quiet. This isn't loneliness, it's intimacy with yourself. And in that intimacy, you find a strength that no crowd can give you. A strength that says, I am enough, here, now alone. Now, being alone isn't a punishment, it's a proving ground. It's where you wrestle with your shadows and emerge bruised but whole. Society tells us that strength is loud, built in boardrooms, cheered on battlefields, forged in the heat of connection. But there's a quieter kind, born in the hush of an empty room. It's the courage to sit with your fears until they lose their teeth. It's the resilience to watch your old self crumble and resist the urge to rebuild it too quickly. It's the power to look into the vastness within you and not turn away. Studies show that solitude can sharpen your mind and steady your heart, but you'll feel it long before science confirms it. In the way your steps grow surer, your voice steadier, your dreams no longer borrowed. Picture yourself as a tree in winter, stripped bare by the cold. To the world, you may look lifeless, abandoned. But beneath the surface, your roots are reaching deeper, drawing strength from the dark, silent earth. That's what solitude does. It grounds you. It teaches you to stand tall, not because others hold you up, but because you've learned to hold yourself. And when the seasons shift, when the leaves return, you'll bloom, not for anyone else, but for the sheer joy of being alive. This is the paradox of solitude. In its starkness, you find abundance. In its silence, you hear everything. The world will tell you that being alone means being broken, that strength comes from numbers, that happiness is a group project. But what happens when the crowd fades? When the lights dim and the stage empties? You're left with yourself, and that's not a tragedy. It's a triumph. Solitude is your forge, your crucible, your chance to hammer out a self that's unbreakable. It's where you shed the skin of who you were supposed to be and step into who you are. The process isn't gentle. Some days it feels like walking barefoot over glass. You'll mourn the noise you've lost, the hands you can't hold, but keep going. The pain is just the old you breaking open to let the new you breathe. This strength doesn't shout, it simmers. It's in the way you stop apologizing for your quiet. It's in the way you chase a dream no one else understands. It's in the way you sit with a cup of coffee and feel its warmth as if for the first time. Alone, you become your own anchor, your own compass, your own light. And when life calls you back, when the voices return, when the doors swing wide, you'll carry this strength with you, not as a shield, but as a flame. You'll connect not out of need, but out of fullness. You'll love not to fill a gap, but to share an overflow. So if you're alone right now, don't fight it. Don't curse the silence or beg for the crowd. Step into it. Let it wrap around you like a worn coat on a cold night. Wander the halls of your own mind. Knock on the doors you've locked. Sit with the ghosts you've ignored. This is your time, your wild, untamed, beautiful time, to discover what no one else can teach you. The strength of being alone isn't in surviving it, it's in thriving there. It's in realizing that the greatest company you'll ever keep is the one staring back at you from the mirror. One day, you'll look back and see this solitude not as a shadow, but as a sunrise. You'll trace the lines it carved in you, the depth, the clarity, the quiet power, and you'll whisper, "Thank you." Because in the end, being alone didn't break you. It built you stronger than you ever knew you could be. If this stirs something in you, hold it close. Share it with someone who needs to hear it, or let it be your secret for a while longer. The strength is yours, carry it well,